So we're going to propose that in the United States, where currently, if you believe that you're a victim of medical malpractice, you can basically sue for as much damages as you believe that you deserve. We're going to propose that there should be a limit on the amount of damages that people are allowed to seek in a court of law from medical malpractice lawsuits. A couple of reasons why. The first thing is that we think that this protects doctors in an area where they're currently extremely unprotected. So right now, people basically sue for damages based on whatever they deserve. So if a doctor botches a $1,000 procedure and you believe that the damages incurred for you personally, including mental damages, psychological damages, whatever, are like $100,000, there's basically nothing anyone can say to you to say like, well, you don't actually deserve this much money. You just bring that to court and let the courts figure that out for you. We think that this actually exposes doctors in a lot of ways because there's no easy way to quantify how much damages people actually deserve. This exposes doctors to an enormous amount of abusive consequences. We think that good doctors should be protected from exorbitant lawsuits, but the bad doctors in the system who continue to actually perform medical malpractice will be weeded out by simply the volume of cases that are brought against them. But the good doctors will be protected to some extent because they know that they're never going to be able to get sued for more than X amount. So yes, the second thing is that I think that this would lower healthcare costs for everyone all around. The cost of treatment is includes the cost of insurance, and that makes the healthcare costs higher for everyone.
Well, the doctors are being hurt right now. The challenge I see is that for weeding out a bad doctor, even under the current system, there is no mechanism. The American Medical Association is an organization for doctors and by doctors, and even the boards used by states to license doctors consist of doctors. So unless you get a doctor that leaves someone's limb on the floor after such a botching, there's going to be just sort of swept under the rugism. The idea of using heavy financial losses is used all the time to encourage companies not to pollute. I don't see why it shouldn't be used also to ensure that doctors, no matter if they're doing a $1,000 procedure that cuts off my arm or a $10,000 procedure that cuts off my arm, I'm still lost an arm. Finally, the value of my arm is very subjective. If I am myself, okay, I type a little slower. If I'm a concert pianist, that's a very different set of damages. Rigid laws would make it impossible to address that. Finally, if volume were enough to get bad doctors out of the system, wouldn't there be plenty of volume to take them out already? I don't think that's happening.
So it's true that, what I was talking about earlier was that it's impossible to quantify how much each individual should be awarded in terms of damages. But I think we need to weigh the risk of a concert pianist losing his arm against the risk of the entire system becoming more risk-averse and incurring higher healthcare costs for everyone involved in the system. I think there's a real decision-making calculus to be weighed here. So on the one hand, yeah, you have a few individuals who are probably not going to receive as much damages as they believe they deserve in the status quo under this new system. But at the same time, you have lower healthcare costs for everyone. You have doctors that aren't going out of their way to perform like tons of extraneous procedures just because they want to have all their bases covered. And keep in mind that those procedures are a lot of the time exorbitantly expensive. This shuts out a lot of people from getting healthcare in the first place because the cost of having these high insurance packages, because there's so many malpractice suits, is directly passed down to the consumer. It's directly passed down to people who need to buy health insurance. And as long as these costs are being passed down, it's going to be harder for the average American who's currently uninsured to become insured, to even enter the healthcare industry. So yeah, you need to weigh the damage to that one person of losing their arm versus like the damage of having 100 or maybe 1,000 people not have health insurance at all. I think the answer is abundantly clear in a system that I think, like as far as we believe that the Hippocratic Oath is true and everything, where doctors have an obligation to the patients and to help as many people as they can and do the right thing. I think it's pretty clear that we should err on the side of helping more people and allowing more people to enter the system in the first place. Yeah, so that's that.
I think I'm a little confused. Are we talking about the cost of insurance for individuals? Or are we talking about the insurance the doctors need to pay to insure themselves? Because, again, if you have a bad doctor, he still can rack up a lot of little claims. But those little claims get paid right out of his insurance. And that just gets spread among risk, if you will, among all doctors. So there's nothing to stop him from continuing to being bad. His insurance, his personal insurance covers it. And then the other doctors pick up the bill. The other issue I see is that it won't, the malpractice suits themselves do filter out some of the big ones when they get big enough, but they don't help with really identifying when a doctor's bad if we make them all small. As a matter of fact, I think this is taking out an important mechanism of control. As for the individual's need to buy health insurance, I don't see how this impacts it at all. It just doesn't seem to come into play there. The concert pianist will be left without an arm. I'll be left without an arm. The bad doctor will keep cutting off arms. He'll be tremendously undercompensated, and probably in the long run, so will I. I just don't see this as working.